Oh my god, Hexicans. Good morning, it is 6:30 a.m. Close enough to it. Here in South Australia. Now, I have some pretty interesting news. You might care to listen. It is to do with the interest rates. Now, it is apparent that the Fed is most likely going to raise by 0.25 basis points this upcoming meeting in February. Now, here's the kicker, right? It's also likely that they're going to raise by 0.25 again in March. And then, again, you might get some feedback by the missus. It's early morning stream here, so it's going to be a slightly different setup. Now, also again, in May, 0.25. Again. So that was a surprise to me. I'll continue on. We have the dogs fighting over what they're going to eat. Now, we have also the pivot. So I guess a better definition of the pivot, what the pivot is. We have, as we are seeing, an increase. Increase in rates going up. We have a pause, no increases. And then we have a pivot, an actual cut in the rates. Now, the problem is inflation. The Fed's fighting inflation, so they're trying to increase rates. They are increasing rates to fight this inflation. Now, the problem is the markets are all thinking the pivot's going to save us all, and that somehow the pivot's going to come, soft landing. With long story short, now that could be a dream, an absolute dream in the Goldilocks scenario when everything's just right. But what could happen is, if you look at the Nikkei and the history of their economy, when they had a similar setup, when their equivalent of the Fed pivoted after the stock market, I guess you could look at, started to pull back quite heavily. What you saw was basically several decades of lost growth that could be coming to a country near you. Now, say for instance, the Fed pivots, right? So that's going to be a cut in interest rates. If retail is thinking they're going to pivot, say, March, April this year, what is going to follow? Well, there's a misconception that the pivot is going to bring about euphoria, utopia in the markets. What if that's not the case? What if the case is the pivot is bad? What do I mean by bad? Basically, by the time the Feds get around to pivoting, then they will most likely, the economy will most likely already be in a recession, if it is not already. Now, as the economy is hurting and rates are being increased, well, you can imagine, if you could visually see a graph increasing, the rates increasing, everything's sort of pulling back. I guess the economy I'm talking about here, the stock market. And then you see, a pivot take place. Then one would think that the next moves of the economy would all be to rise up in unison. But what if it comes too late, there's lag, and it's the beginning of a long, deep recession? That could be what's coming. Because imagine if the retail and the market is thinking, March, April is when the pivot's going to happen. Whereas the Fed might be thinking it's actually coming, March, April of 2024. That's a big difference. And if after the Fed pivots, there is further downward movement of the entire economy, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to be insane. That's it. That's all I got. That's not covering a lot of details. That's it. That's also not covering economic factors that could influence all this, like wars and the like. But yeah, I bet $1. February 0.25 basis, March 0.25, May 0.25 as it stands now. Maybe just the February, because you know things could change, but yeah, it's a shocker to me. It really is a shocker. To think that the pivot could bring about more pain. How's it going to affect crypto? I'm not sure. Everyone keeps thinking that good things are coming in the short term, but realistically, this is probably what's happening, people. So I don't know about you guys, but if say Pulse Chain is not being timed so much, but if people are thinking that the Pulse Chain is coming in, like, you know, the next, it's imminent, it's coming soon, like real. What if it gets released into this nightmare scenario? But then I don't know, like, do you want it before the pivot or after the pivot? I'm actually very unsure at this point in time. Basically, I would like it to be perfect. I would like for it to take as much time as possible to make sure that it does not get sabotaged by this insane economy with the unexpected, you know, taking place. Because who would have thought that by the time the Fed pivots, the economy is already going to be crashing because they act too late, because they have a lag, because they're not on top of it. All right, that's about it. All right, signing out. Sorry, don't kill the messenger. Just telling you that the way it is. Peace for now.